This one we will start with you, Ms. Chang. The government of Canada has taken a very active approach around national housing strategy and often funding the city directly. Oftentimes they also bypass the province in that regard. And they have approached, but however, they have approached the province at a later stage during the ministerial zoning orders to accelerate the housing projects. One such would be the modular housing at 175 Cummer. Do you support the use of MZOs for supportive housing, and how would you go about improving access to housing, but also taking into account what is your position of the modular housing at 175?
So I am not in favor and not supportive of that model. I work in low-income community, and it's a very intense environment. When you are with people who oftentimes have a history of trauma and abuse, and they're not well supported, what happens is there is a high level of anxiety. A lot of the single moms that I serve, they ask me, how can I get out of here? I don't want to be living in this intense environment, and for them, it's a risk that their kids can be lured into gangs. So to me, putting vulnerable people into large congregate settings is not ideal and not helpful, and can actually not only hurt the people we're trying to help, but also hurt the surrounding community. I look to John Sewell, who is a former mayor, and he criticized this program as a bad execution of a good idea. Modular housing, to be able to build housing rapidly, is a good idea, but we need integrated mixed communities, mixed across socioeconomic demographics, mixed across single people and families, and putting 59 bachelor units together can create a very intense environment, especially with the current model. There is no screening. Anyone who is homeless is eligible, but we know that the homeless population is quite diverse. Yes, there are homeless people who are simply down on their luck and having a difficult moment, but we also know there are homeless people who have serious mental health and addiction challenges, and they need a different kind of support. So why would we have one solution for such a wide-ranging population? And most importantly, I really do care about the seniors at 175 Cummer. I've come to know them through our work in that community, and I am so appreciative that we have low-income senior housing in Willowdale that is of such a high caliber. The property manager there, Frank, does an excellent job of maintaining the building. They live in peace, and I would be very hesitant to put something there that would create undue stress on their lives. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's, I think it's two, 3 prong answers that I could give. I liked, when I walk in the neighborhood, doesn't matter where I am, north, south, east, west, I see all these empty houses with bushes all over the place and stuff. And I knock on the next door, and there's an older lady coming out and saying, oh, the house been empty for 4 or 5 years. They're waiting for the I guess, planning department's approval for it to be built. To me, I don't know, maybe it's me. Things should be moving faster. If they're going to build a house, if they're going to approve it, why take 5 years? I don't understand that at all. I am all about cutting red tapes so that there's a process in place for departments to process the application in a timely basis. No excuse. We have Another person that I talked to had a house in front of the empty lot, not empty lot, empty house place, and she was saying there's animals living in there, and the kids are playing. It goes back to kids' safety. I mean, no, doesn't. I don't think it makes sense. Why would it take 5 years and keep it empty like that? To me, I'm all about making processes faster. I believe there's a program or legislature coming up from the provinces to make the city, to come up with a faster decision-making processes. Why does the province have to do with this? This is a city issue. The city should be looking after this and making sure that if something is going to be built, make it happen. Don't take 4 or 5 years. And I definitely think that the modular home in front of 175 doesn't make sense. I've been talking about that from the beginning. I am 100% with them from the day one. I do not want it. I want it out of there. I don't care where they put it on, but I don't want it there. Period.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to address this. Off the top, I will say I do support the modular housing project at 175 Cummer. I understand it's imperfect. I understand that there are going to be challenges that it is going to present conceivably to the community. And I certainly understand that there is an immense amount of fear that exists in the community, in the facility next door. And that has made this process very difficult for government and for members of the community. But I think it's incumbent upon us as leaders and those seeking a position in government to deal in facts and not in fear. Ms. Chang last night told a story about a small home in the neighborhood that housed 10 individuals in a more group home type setting, and speaking to a neighbor that was really concerned about this home being opened up on the street. And then when it actually opened up, found that these were actually pretty good neighbors to live next to, and there wasn't a huge issue that was posed there. I think we are jumping to some conclusions in here when we were talking about 175 Cummer, that it is going to be fraught with difficulty and fraught with problems. What we're talking about is 59 apartments being placed on this site for people that can't currently afford places to live. The building next door is a Toronto community housing building, and most of the people that are living there themselves likely would be struggling to find a place to live if somebody hadn't championed that facility several years prior. So I think there is an opportunity here to build this facility in a way that will serve effectively as an extension to what's already there on that site. And it will become incumbent on any one of us, if elected, to keep an eye on that site and make sure that it's working well in the context of the community, because if it's not, it's going to make building more of these projects so much more difficult everywhere else in the city. And if we're going to be serious about dealing with the issues of homelessness, and you've heard all of us talk about this issue to the candidates in their opening about the impact that homelessness is having on this community, it's not the facilities that have created the issue of homelessness. But we have to take a serious position to tackle these issues head on. And I haven't heard any other solutions coming forward at this table yet about how we're going to seriously deal with this. We can't go out and expect the city to pick up 100 houses overnight across the city to deal with these issues. It's just not practical. That is why the federal government has come forward with their housing strategy, provided funding for this program. That is why the modular housing program exists, because it can be assembled quickly, effectively, efficiently. And remember that we're not talking about statistics. We are talking about 59 human beings that were out in the cold last winter because they didn't have housing. They're going to be out in the cold next winter because they're not going to have housing. And to me, that's simply not an acceptable answer to the issue of homelessness in our city.
I'm going to encourage the community members after the fact. I know you may have follow-up questions and discussion points with the candidates. You're most welcome to approach them and follow up with that after the question and answer period.
Sorry, Marcus said something about what I said.
Sure, I will allow you a rebuttal, a short rebuttal, so Go ahead.
So Marcus mentioned that I talked about supportive housing of 10, and it's the scale that is the issue and the ratio to services. And we look at our shelter, at 5800 Yonge Street, with 150 homeless neighbors there. And statistically, in research, it's shown that 41% of our homeless neighbors have mental health and addiction challenges. So it's not simply that they are just like the people who live at 175. They are not. They are a different demographic, and they're mixed. There might be some of them who are like our friends at 175, but some of them might have more intense issues. And in British Columbia, they are further ahead at implementing supportive housing, and they've found that there are 20 to 25% of the homeless population that they simply cannot keep in housing. Even by giving them housing, they're not able to stay because of the mental health and addiction issue. So the solution is to treat the mental health and addiction separate from homelessness. Although it's all mixed together, people who are addicted and have mental health issues need a different kind of support, and if we don't acknowledge that, if we treat it all the same, we're going to hurt the people we're trying to help and the communities where we place them in. Thank you.
Thank you.